Be me Julian, 32 years old, senior data analyst for a mid-sized logistics software company in Seattle. Job is mostly staring at spreadsheets, SQL databases, and performance dashboards. I am the guy who tells the executives why they are losing money or where efficiency is bleeding out. It is a quiet life. I have a decent apartment downtown, a paid-off car, and a cat named Buster. I like data because data does not lie, data does not have feelings, data does not care about your weekend or your political alignment. Data just is. Office culture used to be pretty standard. Mostly guys in hoodies and a few sharp women who could code circles around anyone. Meritocracy was the unwritten rule. If your code worked, you were a god. If your code broke the build, you bought the donuts. Simple, effective. Then the company decided we needed a rebrand. Apparently, logistics software was too stale and male-dominated. Enter Alara, newly hired Director of Human Resources and Cultural Transformation. Late 30s, master's degree in something vague, wears glasses she does not need. She came in like a hurricane of buzzwords. Within the first week, the free soda in the break room was replaced with kombucha. The ping pong table was removed because it promoted hyper-competitive aggression. We were all forced to attend a 3-hour seminar on inclusive listening. I sat in the back and checked my emails on my phone under the table. Most of us just rolled our eyes and got back to work. We figured she would implement a few silly rules and then fade into the background. We were wrong. Alara had the ear of the CEO, a man named Robert. Robert is a nice guy, but he is terrified of conflict and desperate to be seen as progressive. Alara pitched him a revolutionary idea, Project Athena. The premise was that mixed teams were holding women back. She claimed that the male gaze and unconscious bias in our standard teams stifled female creativity. Her solution was to create two experimental teams composed entirely of female developers and project managers. They would be given the highest priority projects, they would be given the best resources, they would prove once and for all that the future is female. I remember the all-hands meeting where she announced it. Alara stood on the stage, glowing with self-righteousness. "We are going to shatter the glass ceiling," she said. "We are going to show the world what happens when you remove the toxic elements of traditional corporate structure." I looked over at Sienna. Sienna is one of our best back-end developers. She is a female who has been with the company for 5 years. She drives a motorcycle and swears like a sailor. Sienna looked at me and mouthed the word disaster. I tried not to laugh. Teams were restructured the following Monday. Team Alpha and Team Beta remained mixed, mostly the old guard who just wanted to work. Team Gamma and Team Delta were the new Athena units. Alara personally selected the members. She pulled the most vocal, socially active female employees from other departments. She hired 3 new female developers who had great Twitter followings but thin portfolios. They were given the corner section of the office with the panoramic view. Alara ordered them standing desks, ergonomic beanbags, and a dedicated espresso machine. Team Alpha and Team Beta were stuck in the interior rows under the flickering fluorescent lights. It was annoying, but we ignored it. We had deadlines. Client X needed a server migration by the end of the quarter. Client Y needed a patch for their inventory tracking system. I went back to my cave of monitors and started tracking the quarter's metrics. The first month was quiet, too quiet. Usually when a new team forms, there is a spike in activity, lots of commits to the code repository. Lots of tickets being opened and closed as they figure out the workflow. I looked at the dashboard for Team Gamma. Flatline, I checked Team Delta, a little blip of activity, then nothing for 3 days. I assumed they were in the planning phase. Planning is important. You do not want to rush into coding without a roadmap. I gave them the benefit of the doubt. Meanwhile, Alara was doing a victory lap. She posted photos of Team Gamma on the company LinkedIn page every other day. Captions like "disrupting the industry" and "synergy in action." The photos showed them sitting in circles on the beanbags, holding mugs of tea and laughing. They looked very happy. They did not look like they were writing software. One afternoon, I went to the break room to get coffee. I passed by the Athena section. It was 2 p.m. on a Tuesday. Half the desks were empty. The other half were occupied by women watching videos or chatting. I heard snippets of conversation, so I told him that his energy was totally incompatible with my boundaries. Did you see that article about the patriarchal roots of algebra? I blinked. I walked past a whiteboard. Usually our whiteboards are covered in logic flows, database schemas, and API endpoints. This whiteboard had a list of daily affirmations written in 4 different colors of marker. 1. We are powerful. 2. We are valid. 3. We create our own reality. I saw no code. I saw no architecture diagrams. I got my coffee and walked back to the Alpha sector. Marcus, the lead of Team Alpha, was rubbing his temples. You okay, Marcus? I asked. I'm tired, Julian, he said. Team Delta was supposed to hand over the API keys for the new module yesterday. Did you ask them for it? I did, Marcus sighed. And they told me they were holding space for a mental health recharge and would get to it when the vibes were right. I stared at him. You are joking. I wish I was, Marcus said. I had to write a dummy interface myself last night just so we could keep testing. This was the beginning of the drift. Month 2 rolled around. The metrics were starting to paint a terrifying picture. I have a dashboard that tracks velocity. It is a composite score of code volume, bug fixes, and task completion. Team Alpha was hovering around 85, Team Beta was at a solid 82, Team Gamma was at 14. Team Delta was at 19. I thought my script was broken. I debugged the analytics tool. The tool was fine. The data was real. I decided to dig deeper into the hours logged versus active time. Our system tracks when a user is active in the development environment. The women on the Athena teams were logging 40 hours a week on their timesheets, but their active time in the coding environment averaged 12 hours. Where was the other 28 hours going? I found the answer in the calendar logs. Workshops. Endless workshops. Navigating corporate trauma. The power of storytelling in code. Astrology for project managers. AITA was bringing in outside consultants to run these sessions for the Athena teams. Company money was paying for this. Meanwhile, Team Beta was denied a budget request for a second monitor for their junior dev. I felt a knot forming in my stomach. This was not sustainable, but I knew the politics. If I raised a flag now, AITA would call me a misogynist. She would say I was threatened by their success, so I kept my mouth shut and gathered more data. Month 3 brought the first major crisis. We had a hard deadline for a logistics firm in Chicago. They needed the new routing algorithm live by the 1st of the month. Team Gamma was responsible for the core logic of the algorithm. 2 days before the deadline, the project manager for Gamma sent an email to the entire company. Subject: delaying launch for quality assurance. The email was 5 paragraphs long. It used words like holistic approach and organic development cycle. It said that forcing a deadline was a form of capitalist violence. I literally choked on my water when I read that. Robert, the CEO, panicked. He called an emergency meeting. AITA defended them. They are refusing to ship substandard code, she argued. They are prioritizing the integrity of the product over arbitrary dates. Robert bought it. He delayed the launch. The client was furious. We had to give them a 15% discount to keep the contract. That discount came out of the general bonus pool. Team Alpha and Team Beta were pissed. You could feel the tension in the air. It was thick enough to cut with a knife. Sienna came over to my desk that afternoon. Julian, have you seen their repo? She whispered. No, I try not to look, I said. Look at it. I pulled up Team Gamma's code repository. It was a mess, no comments. Variable names like thingy and stuff, infinite loops, hard-coded credentials. It looked like it was written by a first-year computer science student who was high on cough syrup. This is what they are protecting, I asked. This is what took them 3 months, Sienna said. If this goes live, the trucks in Chicago will be routed into Lake Michigan. Does AITA know? AITA doesn't know Python from a Python snake, Sienna snapped. She just sees them smiling in meetings and thinks it is magic. Month 4 was the tipping point, the thermostat incident. It was July in Seattle. It gets warm, but the office has central air conditioning. It is kept at a standard 72 degrees. Team Delta filed a formal grievance with HR. They claimed the temperature was an act of gender discrimination. They cited a study from the 1960s about male metabolic rates. Alara treated this like a bomb threat. She sent out a memo. We must be mindful of the thermal comfort of all bodies. She raised the thermostat to 78 degrees. 78 degrees in an office full of running servers and computers. Within 2 hours, the Alpha and Beta teams were sweating through their shirts. Marcus brought in a personal fan. Ilara walked by and told him to turn it off because the white noise was triggering for one of the members of Team Delta. Marcus turned purple. I thought he was going to have a stroke. He turned off the fan. Productivity in the mixed teams started to dip because everyone was sluggish from the heat. I checked the metrics for the Athena teams. Did the warmer temperature help their productivity? No, it actually went down. Apparently, 78 degrees is also too hot for mindfulness sessions. They spent half the day in the frozen yogurt shop downstairs. I continued to build my master file. I called it the reality check. I pulled ticket resolution times. Team Alpha 4 hours average, Team Beta 5 hours average, Team Gamma 72 hours average, Team Delta. Infinity, they had not closed a single ticket in 2 weeks. I pulled code churn. This measures how often lines of code are rewritten because they didn't work the first time. Team Alpha had a churn rate of 5%. Team Gamma had a churn rate of 80%. Basically, they were writing garbage, deleting it, and writing different garbage. The quarterly review was approaching. This was the big one. Bonuses, promotions, and department budgets were decided here. Ilara was preparing a massive presentation. I saw her printing glossy brochures. I saw her rehearsing in the conference room. She was going to sell the Athena project as a massive cultural victory. Robert asked me to prepare the standard operational metrics to accompany the presentation. I do not think he expected me to do what I did. I did not sleep for 2 nights. I audited every single line of data. I cross-referenced with server logs. I matched timestamps with security badge swipes at the front door. I found out that the lead developer of Team Delta, a woman named Jessica who Alara loved, had not been in the building on 4 consecutive Fridays. Her timesheet said remote coding. Her Git log showed 0 activity on those days. Her Instagram showed her wine tasting in Napa Valley. I compiled it all: graphs, charts, heat maps, direct quotes from client complaints linked to specific failures by the Athena teams. It was a dossier of absolute failure. The morning of the meeting arrived, the big conference room. Robert sat at the head of the table. The other executives were there. Ilara sat on the right, looking confident. She was wearing a power suit that probably cost more than my car. Marcus and the other team leads were on the left, looking defeated. I sat at the end near the projector connection. Ilara started. She dimmed the lights. Her slides were beautiful, stock photos of diverse hands stacking blocks. Words like empathy, flow, and structural harmony. She spoke for 20 minutes. She said that the Athena teams had redefined the coding paradigm. She said they had fostered a psychologically safe environment that would pay dividends for years. She admitted that traditional metrics might look different for them, but that was because they were playing a long game. Robert was nodding. He looked relieved. He wanted this to work so badly. And so, Ilara concluded, I recommend that we expand the Athena initiative to the entire engineering department by next year. Marcus dropped his pen. It hit the table with a loud clack, silence in the room. Robert looked at me. Julian, do you have the operational numbers? I do, Robert, I said. I stood up. I plugged in my laptop. The screen flickered and then showed my first slide. White background, black text, no stock photos. Title: Q3 Performance Audit, Output versus Cost. I clicked to the next slide. It was a simple bar chart showing functioning features delivered. Team Alpha 45, Team Beta 42, Team Gamma 3, Team Delta 1. The room went dead silent. You could hear the air conditioner humming, still set to 78 degrees. Ilara laughed nervously. Well, Julian, as I explained, you cannot measure creative innovation with simple feature counting. It is about the quality of the architecture. I agree, I said. Let's look at quality. Next slide. Critical bugs reported by client. Team Alpha 2, Team Beta 1, Team Gamma 26, Team Delta 18. Robert squinted at the screen. Wait, Robert said. 26 bugs from 3 features. Yes, I said. One of those bugs caused the database lockup last Tuesday that took the system down for 4 hours. Alara stood up. This is unfair framing. You are cherry-picking negative data points to support a bias. I am not finished, I said calmly. Next slide. Cost per line of usable code. I had calculated the salaries of the teams divided by the lines of code that actually made it into production. Team Alpha $2.50, Team Beta $2.65, Team Gamma $145, Team Delta $210. A gasp went around the room. The CFO, a guy named Stan who rarely spoke, leaned forward. Julian, is this accurate? Stan asked. Verified against payroll and Git logs, I said. We are paying the Athena teams nearly 100 times more for the same output. Alara was red in the face now. This is exactly the kind of toxic, capitalistic metric obsession that we are trying to dismantle, she shouted. You are measuring typing speed, not value. I am measuring work, I said. Let's look at attendance. Next slide. I showed the badge swipe data overlaid with the timesheets. I did not use names, but I used job titles. Lead developer Team Delta, I read. Logged hours 40, physical presence 18, remote login activity 0, senior architect Team Gamma. Logged hours 40, physical presence 22, activity 4 hours of YouTube access. I put up the thermostat correlation graph. Here is when we raised the temperature, I pointed to the timeline. Here is the productivity drop for the entire company. The environment change requested by Team Delta cost the company approximately $40,000 in lost efficiency from the other teams in 1 month. Alara looked like she had been slapped. She looked at Robert. Robert, you cannot let him do this. This is a targeted attack. He is creating a hostile work environment. Robert looked at the screen. He looked at the red bars that represented money burning in a fire. He looked at Alara. The spell was broken. Robert is a coward, but he is a greedy coward. He likes money more than he likes looking progressive. Alara, Robert said, his voice quiet. Is it true that Team Gamma has only delivered 3 features in a quarter? It is not about the number, Alara shrieked. It is about the foundation we are building. The foundation is cracked, I said. I played the ace. I opened a folder on my desktop. I asked Sienna from Team Beta to review the code submitted by Team Gamma. She found that 70% of it was copied from Stack Overflow tutorials, some of which are 5 years old and deprecated. The reason nothing works is because they are pasting in code they do not understand. Alara turned to me. Her eyes were wide, desperate. You enlisted a female traitor to undermine her sisters, she hissed. I enlisted a competent developer to audit the codebase, I said. Sienna is the one who fixed the Chicago routing glitch on her own time, unpaid, because Team Gamma was at a sound bath session. That was the nail in the coffin. Robert stood up. Okay, he said, that is enough. Alara started gathering her papers. I will not stand for this. I will be filing a report with the board. You can do that, Robert said. But Julian, send that slide deck to the board members first. I want them to see the ROI analysis. Alara froze. She knew the board. They were investment bankers. They would eat her alive if they saw those charts. She looked around the room. No one made eye contact with her. She grabbed her laptop and stormed out. The door slammed shut. Silence returned. Stan, the CFO, let out a long breath. So, Stan said, can we turn the AC back down now? Nervous laughter broke out. Robert rubbed his face. Dissolve the Athena teams, he said to Marcus. Split the members up. Put them under senior supervision in Alpha and Beta. If they cannot code up to standard within 30 days, put them on performance improvement plans. And get rid of the beanbags, he added. I want this office looking like a workplace again. The meeting adjourned. Marcus walked up to me. He clapped a hand on my shoulder. You are a dangerous man, Julian. I just like data, I said. The aftermath was swift. Alara went on stress leave the next day. 2 weeks later, an email went out saying she had decided to pursue other opportunities. We never saw her again. The Athena teams were broken up. When they were integrated into the real teams, the reality became even clearer. Three of the senior hires quit immediately when they realized they would actually have to write code. Jessica, the one who went to Napa, tried to sue for wrongful termination when she was let go. The company legal team showed her the badge swipe logs and she dropped the case in 20 minutes. However, there was a silver lining. Two of the junior developers from Team Gamma were actually decent. They had just been suffocated by the lack of leadership and the vibe-based management. Once they were paired with Marcus and Sienna, they flourished. They started shipping real code. They told us later that the Athena environment was a nightmare of passive-aggressive bullying and popularity contests. They were relieved to just be able to work. The office temperature went back to 72 degrees. The kombucha was replaced with normal coffee and the good espresso machine was moved to the common area for everyone. Productivity skyrocketed. We hit our end-of-year targets. Bonuses were restored. I got a nice bump in my paycheck. One Friday afternoon a few months later, Sienna and I were having a beer at the pub across the street. "You know," Sienna said, "you really saved us." "I didn't do much," I said. "I just held up a mirror." "Yeah, but the reflection was ugly," she laughed. "It is funny," she added. "Ilara kept talking about empowerment, but I have never felt more empowered than when I watched her get destroyed by a bar graph." I smiled. "Competence is the only real power," I said. "Amen to that," Sienna said, clinking her glass against mine. We finished our drinks and went home. I fed Buster. I sat on my couch. I felt good. The world is full of noise. Full of people trying to sell you a narrative, but at the end of the day, the numbers have to add up. And when they do not, no amount of buzzwords can save you. Reality always wins. Always. Be me happy. Be me competent. Life is good.